Hi guys, welcome back. It is Saturday. I've now finished work for 2 weeks. Fish are doing good. Just having a bit of a munch. Spooked them. I'm just doing a bit of maintenance, just doing a bit of a water change. But what I also want to get done today is, while I'm doing a water change and while I'm dropping my water level, I want to decommission one of my returns, and it's the return what's on the front side of the pond. So it will be this return here. There's a return there, there's a return at the top over there, and there's a return at the bottom down there. Now the reason I want to decommission them is because this return here, it's such a long way from the pump that by having it open, it takes quite a lot of the flow away from the other returns. I don't seem to get that greater flow from the two close returns, because I'm having to shut them down quite a lot in order to get a decent enough flow out this this front return. So I want to decommission it, and I'm just going to have the two returns that are closest to the pump. Now I think what I'm going to have to do, if I bit of a dive round back here, not really done out. So we've got this valve here what's open, the bottom flow down there that's open, and then this one is partially open. So I'm going to be just using these two returns. So what my plan is to do is, once the water level's been dropped, I'm going to blank off the return over there just with some rubber or something, and some OB1 or something like that, just to seal it up. And then this, what I'm going to do is take that ball valve off of there, and then this pipe, I'm going to chop it down here, take the pipe out of the valve itself so I can reuse the valve, and then I'm going to put the valve down here, and then what I'm going to use it as is a bit of a purge for when I'm doing my maintenance. So what you really want to be doing, this was something that Paula spoke to me about a month or so ago, is what you really want to be doing is, once you've done your maintenance, when you fire your system back up, you ideally want to be pumping some water to waste for a few minutes until you start putting it back through your pond, just to stop any dirt going back into your pond system. So that valve over there, what I'm going to actually use that as, once it's on, is just as a purge valve to purge the muck through before I put it back through to the system. So yeah, I think that'll be a lot better personally, and like I say, I'll get a lot better flow out of those two returns that are closest to the pump itself. So I've got me all set up. I'm going to be getting a bit of a clean in there. I'm going to take the screen off and clean underneath it. I don't know about anyone else that's got drums, but I noticed that over a period of time I get like a sediment build up in the clean side of the drum. I don't know what it is, but I don't know, it's like, I don't know, dust particles or something, and you just get a sediment build up. So yeah, I've got to clean that out, flush my drains, and just a bit of a water change really, that's it. And like I say, get that valve put on to the other side, so I can just use them two returns. Right, so I'm going to get cracked on with them then, guys. I'm going to get cracked on doing this water change, and I think I'll probably snap back to you once I've sorted that that other return out. Typically, being off work, it's now started peeing it down as usual. But yeah, I'm going to crack on with it and I'll come back to you in a bit. Right, what I've done, guys, is I've got the pond drained down as much as I need to, and I've got this section of pipe removed at the back of the pond. I've got the pipe cut and I've put a valve on what I can use as a purge when I need to flush it through after I've done a clean on my system. So this is what I've got. I haven't put the other valve on yet because I need to heat it up to take it out of the glued fitting, but I've got this one for the time being and just a rubber boot on there. It'll not be a massive issue if I need to change this at a later date for a glued fitting, because I can isolate the whole pond just by shutting that one off there, and shutting the isolating valves in the shed, and then that'll isolate the whole pond from this section of pipe work, and I can do what I want to with this. Then I can swap it out for a different one or glue a fitting on or whatever. But it just means what I'll be able to do once I've done my maintenance, when I switch my pond back on, I'll be able to shut this one off, shut that return, shut the bottom return off, and just open, which way is it? Open this up and then pump it straight out for a little bit, just to clear any muck out of the system before I turn any of my returns back on. So that'll do me for the time being, I think. I still need to blank that return off over there. It's just about below the level I need it at. So I'm going to give it a few more minutes before I sort that out, just so I can dry fully around the area, and then we'll be all good for rocking and rolling. So while I'm waiting for that, guys, I'm going to get this crap cleaned up down here and go and watch a bit of football, I think. So I'll see you in a bit. Right, I've done that, guys. Filled that old return off. Choose some CT1. All I've done is just blanked it off like that. Just cut some rubber up, OB1, and then just smoothed around it to seal it off. I'm just going to let it go off a little bit before I start putting any water back in. What I've actually used, the rubber I've actually used, is an old 4-inch cap end. Just butchered it. Butchered an old 4-inch cap end. Not friggin' cheap them neither. So my old ball valve, I'll keep that as a spare if I ever decide to swap it over from that yellow handled one, which I probably will do at some point, because I much prefer them ones. They seem a lot more robust, and also just to get that rubber boot off as well. So yeah, I'm going to let that set for a bit now, guys, and then I guess I best start getting some water back in it, because we're in a bit of chaos at the minute. We are. Right, see you in a bit, guys. Right, we're all filled back up now, guys. They're all settled down now. They've got some water back in. Show you around here. I think I've already shown you before, but this is what I've done. So they're all on now. Just going through those two returns. So that should work a bit better, really. Pumping through just those two returns, because I weren't getting much flow through the far one anyway. Well, I were, but I were having to balance them and they were taking it away from other flows. I weren't getting that good a circulation. I'm getting some circulation, but not as good as I could have by getting rid of that far return, because I don't need it. Those two will do a job perfectly fine. So yeah, all's good on that front. Good afternoon, guys. I hope we're all well. Today is, what day is it? Tuesday. I'm enjoying my time off work. Got 2 weeks off, so I'm enjoying that. Just been plodding about, enjoying fish. So yeah, what I'm planning on doing today, due to obviously the issues I've been through in the past, I did say that I was going to add some level of Chloramine-T to the pond. Purely just to keep down the numbers of Aeromonas. It was something that was discussed with Paula, and that's something that was recommended to me, so I'm not just doing it on a whim. I am doing it for a reason. So that's what's going to be happening today. There's going to be 1 dose of Chloramine-T going into the pond, just to ensure that those levels of Aeromonas are kept down. Last thing we want is any problems rising back up. Now, the thing what we have to remember with Chloramine-T is it doesn't always tell you about this on some treatments. Some of them do, some of them are quite good for informing you about it, but a lot of the time when people ask about using Chloramine-T, what they don't realise is just how toxic Chloramine-T can be. Now obviously Chloramine-T is a disinfectant. The main thing about it is if you don't use it in the right circumstances, then you're going to end up, or you could end up potentially, with dead fish. Now Chloramine-T is a toxic chemical. It's toxic when your pH is low, and it's toxic when your water hardness is low. So the softer your water and the lower your pH, the less dose of Chloramine-T you have to use. You pretty much have to reduce the recommended dose by about 75% to ensure that you're dosing safely, so you're not going to end up killing your fish or anything like that. Now, on this particular Chloramine-T I've got, which is the Daisuke, it doesn't tell you about that information, so if anyone was to buy this, they wouldn't have the foggiest or anything like that. If they'd not researched it or anything like that, they'd just look at the instructions on the side of the box. It tells you the dosages. Now, looking at these dosages what are on this pack, I think these dosages have been put on here specifically to avoid people overdosing the pond with Chloramine-T. Now that's all well and good, but I think these dosages what are on this pack are aimed at people that have got soft water, because the levels of Chloramine-T doses what are on there, personally I don't think are any good for people that are in hard water areas. So yeah, I think that is pretty much a weakened product. That it's a weakened dose on them instructions as far as I'm concerned. Now, so soft water, very soft water, is classed anywhere between 0 and 4 degrees, German degrees that is. Soft water is classed anywhere from 4 to 8 degrees. Then you've got your medium, which is anywhere between 8 and 12 degrees of hardness, and then your hard water is anywhere between 12 and 18 degrees. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to test my water hardness. When we're testing for water hardness for Chloramine-T, what we want to be testing for is the total hardness, which is your general hardness, your GH, not your KH. You want to be testing your GH, because that is your total hardness of your water. So I mean, I pretty much know what my permanent hardness is of my water. It's about 7 or 8. It can fluctuate now and again, but it's generally around 7 to 8. So I've got my test kit out. I'm going to test what it is just before I do my dose, just so I know, but I'm pretty confident it's usually around 7 to 8 German degrees. So I'm going to get on with this now. I'll do it and I shall come back to you with the results. Right then guys, so as you can see, I've done my test. Now that has come back at 8. So the GH of my pond water, total hardness, is 8 German degrees. So what that means for me is it's sort of borderline between soft and medium. Now, because it's sort of borderline between those two, I will err on the side of caution, because you could say slightly hard if you wanted to look at it that way. Now I've got a chart what I always swear by, what's from the Fish Doc website, which gives you basically it's a table what gives you the dosages of Chloramine-T for different pHs and different water hardnesses. So I'll put that on the screen. So as you can see from that table, I mean my pH at the moment is at 7.8. Now my pH is usually anywhere between 7.6 7.8 depending on time of day, so it fluctuates by a couple of points. Now as you've seen in that table, because of what my pH is, because it sits between 7.6 and 7.8, there's no difference in dose between soft water and hard water because the pH is higher. If it was below 7.5 and it started dropping towards 7, then that's when you need to start adjusting your dosages. But because of where my pH is at, the dosages are the same across the board. So the recommended dose for me is 18 milligrams per litre. That's milligrams, not grams per litre, milligrams per litre. So if I were to dose it at that, that's what, I don't know what that is, I'd have to work it out on calculator. But the point is, make sure when you're using Chloramine-T, you test your water hardness properly and you nail down your dosages. No guessing on your water volume or anything like that, because that's all going to affect it. Make sure you know your water volume accurately, make sure you know your water hardness, your pH and your GH. All of those have got to be taken into account before you think about using any Chloramine-T in your pond. Otherwise, like I say, you could end up potentially killing your fish basically if you get anything wrong. It's a bit like potassium permanganate. If you get it wrong, it's going to have devastating effects, so use with caution. Right, enough of that. I'm going to get my dose measured out now, and I will come back to you. Right, that's all mixed up then, guys, in my bucket. Now this is going to get dispersed around my pond evenly. I don't want to be dumping it in one area, just to avoid higher concentrations of it in one area of the pond than another. So I'm going to spread it around evenly. Now Chloramine-T is a chlorine based product, and it breaks down pretty rapidly, to be fair, hence why most of the time you can do daily doses of it, because of how fast it breaks down. Now when it breaks down, it releases, I think it's hypochlorous acid, and that releases chlorine and oxygen. So just a bit of useless information, just something I read. But anyway, yeah, it's a chlorine based product, so you know, you won't be surprised to get a chlorine reading or something like that if you tested for chlorine after you've used Chloramine-T. So anyway, I'm going to get this in the pond now. Right, so that's in then, guys. Now, like any treatment, it's obviously because it's a disinfectant as well, the likelihood of the nitrifying bacteria taking a hit is quite likely, obviously, as well, because it's a chlorine based product. So you have to be mindful of that. So watch your feeding when you're using it. It's likely that you might get some ammonia spike, something like that, so just bear that in mind. Always aerate your water well when using it, and like I say, as long as you use it right, you dose correctly, then you should be safe. But again, when using any treatments, you want to be keeping an eye on your fish. So I'm going to be sat out here for a bit now, keeping an eye on fish, make sure everything's okay, which I'm sure it will be. But first sign of any trouble when you put any chemical in, you want to be doing on your water changes straight away. Well, I think that's going to wrap this up, guys. And I know it's only been another short one. I don't know how interesting you're finding these videos, but I'm just putting out whatever I'm doing. That's what my channel's all about, really. Whatever I'm doing with my fish pond or whatever, whatever's happening at the time, I'll video what I'm doing, and that's all I'm about, really. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this one, guys. I will catch you back next time. We're on a trip down to sheep country. So look forward to seeing you on that. So take care, guys. See you later.